So, hi there, everybody, and welcome back to Hello, It's Better to Talk. Now, today I am super excited to welcome Sam Cooper, who comes from a company called Rogue Datas Limited. And it's Sam's job to track down these wretched scammers who, are kind of going around on internet sites and getting money from people and doing all sorts of things as deceivers and liars, basically. And Sam's been featured on the BBC in a programme, although she was telling me just beforehand that she hardly told anybody about it. So she's already a TV star. And we know that there's a storyline going on in The Archers at the moment about, I think it's Roy and The Archers. I don't watch The Archers ever since Nigel fell off the roof. I don't know, that came from out of nowhere. And I was listening to it and I was so traumatized by that. I'd have to listen to The Archers again. But there's a storyline going on at the moment about a man who's looking on internet sites. He's found somebody who seems to be very interested in him, and his family are really worried about whether or not she's for real. So, Sam, can you just kick off by telling us how did you get into this business? Because you're a private investigator. There's all sorts of other work that you might do, but so why this?
Hi, first of all, Helen, thank you for having me on today. So it all started back, I guess, when I was about 37 and I found myself recently divorced. I had 2 young children and I re-entered the online dating world. And I realized very quickly that I was quite vulnerable. I had 2 children that I needed to protect. I had some settlement from my divorce that I was looking to invest into a property. And I just knew I was vulnerable. So being female and having such good nosy skills, I'll call it, I did my research on everybody that I met. And I realized very quickly that people don't tell the truth. And I was able to very quickly establish, who appeared to be genuine and who didn't. Now, obviously, I'm not 37 anymore. And as the years have gone on, the dating sites have evolved and people have joined in, mass numbers. And although dating online is booming, so are the scammers. And I realized that I always knew I wanted to get involved as a private investigator. And I knew I could marry the two and put my skill to good use in the dating industry.
Great.
And very early on in my job as an investigator, I was dealing with all general cases. I had a lady approach me who was a paralegal, and she had met this man who was a lawyer, and they struck up a relationship online, and she was doing some work for him. And he also set up a charity to help. It was one of the disaster fund reliefs. And he asked her to donate money, and she did. And he asked if she would donate money on his behalf and that he would pay her back. She did that. Anyway,
no. I can feel this coming. Oh my days! So what happened?
Well, as soon as she asked for her money back, he started to. The term is ghost her. He just literally vanished. Right. And then she came to me for some help. And it turned out to be a very interesting case because although she hadn't given him a lot of money, she actually did have quite a lot that she could have handed over.
Right.
It turned out that she didn't even have his correct name. And when we located the real person, he was in the country illegally. He was a convicted paedophile.
Oh my God.
And he wasn't a lawyer, didn't own any charities. Oof. And he did have a daughter. So actually, she felt that although she had lost a few £1,000s, which was a lot of money,
yes,
she felt that she was very lucky to have caught it very early on.
Right.
And that really fueled me into thinking, right, I've got to make a difference here and help people that are possibly too embarrassed to talk to their family or friends. And especially during COVID, where people have been more at home and creating these relationships online, they've really got nowhere to turn to. And that's how I started Rogue Datas.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that's you've hit it on the head there. It's that whole thing about it being embarrassed, isn't it? And I'm thinking about that client of yours who was a paralegal, and indeed I'm a lawyer, and I'm going to fess up that, before I met Tim, I went on to Match.com and created a profile, and then was horrified about the amount of men that I met online who thought it would be a really attractive thing to do to strip off to the waist and carry a carp. Now, I don't know about you, Sam, but I'm from Yorkshire, and I kind of look at the carp and go, well, that's not even dinner, because I have to throw that back. And so they're lying about the carp. What else are they going to be lying about? And I've got a bit of a thing. I love people who love words and grammar and so on. There's so many people who couldn't write, and that would turn me off. So I eventually created my thing, so to say that I was looking for a man who was a cross between David Attenborough, because he was the only man that my kids had told me that I could, well, my younger daughter had told me I could ever marry again. Gabriel Oak in Far From the Madding Crowd, which is a book by Thomas Hardy that I completely love, and Gabriel Byrne, who's a very funny, who's an actor. So I thought, well, that's going to put people off. And actually, I think people who did contact me probably got the idea that I wasn't an easy person necessarily to be relating to. But there was a guy on there who I thought looked really nice. And of course, that's one of the things they do, is they choose photos, don't they? That they nick them off the internet. And he was presenting himself as a businessman who's just coming out of his business, going into charity. There's that word, charity again, hooky. And he'd got a son in America, and he was looking to travel the world, and he just looked really nice online. But I just had one phone call with the guy who was pretending to be this man, and there was no way he was what he was so he was going to be, and he was telling me he loved me and so on, and I just blocked him. So I feel very lucky I kind of got out of it. But that's that thing, people are kind of we're all yearning for connection, aren't we? And some of these scammers know exactly the words to say to start hooking you in. Charity seems to be one.
Absolutely.
Single father.
I mean, they're very, very manipulative, these scammers, and they really will, lay it on thick to draw people in.
Yeah.
But I think also people who tend to be victims of scammers tend to be very, very kind people. And I think they kind of see or want to see that other people are kind, and they're just very trusting. Yes. And, it's sad that these scammers will take advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think that people need to be looking out for then, if they're venturing into this world? Because I certainly don't want anybody to stop trying, but we've got to be smart about it, haven't we? We've got to kind of look, so start cautiously and maybe not give out your phone number too early.
I think it's worth remembering there are still a lot of honest, lovely people, and who doesn't want to fall in love? It's a lovely feeling. So, but I do think you need to be a bit guarded and protect yourself. So my tips would be things like, don't give out personal information too quickly. Ask a lot of questions, and it may be a question like, did you watch a program last week? And if they say yes, ask them again the following week to see if their answers are consistent.
Right.
That will tell you a lot about if somebody's telling you the truth or not.
Okay.
Check them out on the internet. So social media, Google their name, Google where they work. It will tell you if an area, a company, and a name is genuine.
Yeah.
Obviously, never give out personal details, and of course, never give money. And if somebody is genuine and they do need money for a genuine reason, and you say no, if they really like you, they will understand. And it's just all the other little things. Trust your instinct. I always say, ask a family or a friend, a family member or a friend, because they will always give you an unbiased, honest opinion on the person you're dating.
Yeah, that's a very good tip. I think, children can be very kind of on it in terms of of people who are going to be scammers. So are there any other kind of like things that you've heard that people have got sucked into? Is there any pattern that's happening in sort of 2021 nowadays?
I mean, there's the standard stories of, somebody meets somebody who all of a sudden has to travel abroad. And then there's a series of events. So it may be that they've ended up in hospital, a family member needs an operation. If they're in the military, they get cautioned for something, or a business transaction, they need money to release a product. So that's quite common. I've also seen an increase in investment fraud, where somebody will build up a relationship with you and say, I'm doing really well, I'm making all this money, investing, why don't you do it as well? And they'll show you, obviously, fictitious accounts of where money's been traded and profit's been earned, but it's not genuine.
So this could be things like Bitcoin and, something like that, could it? Or even other investments? I mean, things that you might not know about necessarily.
Exactly. I mean, Bitcoin is actually, a good example, because it's quite complicated to understand how it works. And, and if they show somebody a fictitious account that is making money, it just triggers that thought of, oh, okay, this looks genuine, I can make money. And without really understanding how it works. I mean, we all know that investment is quite, difficult at the best of times when it's genuine.
Yeah.
So I just definitely think people have to be very, very cautious.
Absolutely. Because I mean, I heard one story as well where somebody had kind of, fallen in love online and created what he described as an emotional relationship with this person who he thought was a woman of about 35 and turned out to be a man of 62. And the kind of level of shock in that was, it's like a huge repercussion. I mean, for one thing, he was doing this behind his wife's back, and just, kind of got caught up in it, because I think we're sort of different online, aren't we? We don't, we can't smell people. I always think that if you can smell somebody, you can sniff them out, and you can let your natural instincts actually come into play.
I think also it's important to remember that when you're having a conversation over the computer or the phone, if you're at home, you're in your safe space, so your guard is down. Whereas if you're meeting somebody in the pub that you didn't know, you'd be a bit more guarded and think, what are you like? Who really are you? And, so, and you would actually see how they interact in a different social situation. If you're out for dinner, how they address the waiter or something.
Do you know, that's so spot on. I think the people who are really horrible to waiters are, you just need to be getting out that door as soon as possible, because it's a real sign, isn't it? They're often very self-absorbed, and they can't appreciate that actually that these waiters having a really bad day, or whatever. But it's a tough job.
Exactly. But over the internet and the phone, you have the one-on-one interaction. So you miss all of that, even the way somebody looks at other people.
Yes.
You just don't see that. So, I mean, obviously that's, some people don't exist on the internet, some people do. So some people will meet up with people who are still fraudsters. Some people never get to meet them. Mm-hmm. And people need to remember, because I hear a lot of excuses where people will say, I haven't been able to video chat with them because they haven't got an up-to-date phone, they haven't got a computer. And, we're in the year 2021 now. You've finally managed to meet somebody who has created a profile online. There's no reason why they cannot video chat with you.
Very good. Very good point.
Be guarded at all times, really.
Yeah. Okay. So you need, but if you are worried about, so say you're in this situation and you are worried that somebody's there, I suppose, you suggested talking to a friend or family member, because actually you need to open up about it, don't you? I mean, this, I know the point of this channel is hello, it's best to talk, but rather than to kind of get embarrassed about something and shut up about it and guard it as a secret, you need to kind of, come out and talk to somebody and talk to somebody like you if you're really worried. You've already given some money over and this person isn't real.
I do prefer people to contact me proactively. So before they've been scammed, I want to stop people from being scammed. I want to stop them from the financial loss and the heartbreak and the knock-on effect from it. But I did want to say as well that from my experience, the most common age group for men and women to be scammed is certainly over the age of probably 35 to 65, where they've gathered some assets in their life. And also, if they've been widowed, or a marriage has broken down, or a relationship has broken down, these people tend not to tell their family and their children, because the children might be against the parent dating again. So they tend to hold it in. So I think that's quite an attractive group for the scammers to target, really.
Okay, so if you're 35 to 65, then you're most at risk.
Definitely. And men and women that are both being scammed.
Yeah, we've talked about women, haven't we? But if you've got stories about there are cases of men that have also been scammed.
I did have a lady contact me whose father had been scammed, and he'd met this woman who lived abroad, and he was sending her money, and he would promise to fly in. He'd go to the airport to meet her. She never turned up. It was excuse after excuse. He basically lost all his money.
Oh, no.
It was even worse than that he took his own life in the end.
Oh, my days, Sam, that's terrible.
Just could not, she just could not understand how it had got that far, and he hadn't said anything. And, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, that's an absolutely tragic story. I suppose because the shame of what he'd done, and then having to fess up to the family, or whatever. But
I don't think there should be any shame in people that have been scammed. And I know that the public response to victims of romance fraud is really, really harsh. But it comes back to what I said earlier. People are just kind and trusting. And what kind of world do we live in where you can't trust somebody today? It's a very sad world.
Well, it is a difficult world to be in sometimes. But I think the thing is that I suppose as grown-ups, they need to earn your trust, don't they, as adults? I mean, as a child, you give your trust to your parents or your carers that they will look after you, and you have to do that because you don't know what else to do. But as grown-ups, we probably know that we need to earn, other people need to earn our trust, as we need to earn trust from other people. And it's not about what you say so much, it's about what you do.
Absolutely.
It's the actions that we need to judge people by. Well, Sam, that's been a fascinating discussion. Thank you so much for coming on. Hello, It's Better to Talk. And we'll pop your details down at the bottom. So if anybody does need to get in touch with you, they can do that. You're based in the UK, is that right?
Yes, I'm based in London, but I can deal with inquiries from all over the country.
Right, great. In the UK, lovely. Thank you so much. And thank you so much also to our viewers. This is the last edition of Hello, It's Better to Talk before we're going to take a summer break. We'll be back in September. But thank you so much, Sam. Go well and go and track down those rotten deceivers. Because the thing is, they've got to be stopped, haven't they? They'll go on otherwise. And so they need to be stopped in their tracks. Go you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Helen.
Not at all. You're most welcome. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Bye.